What is going on, everyone? How's it going, guys? So my name is Ricky with Technical Solutions. I hope that you guys are all having an amazing Monday. Not too sure about you guys, but my Monday has been a little bit slow. I'm going to be showing you guys kind of like what it is that I took a position on today. Talking a little bit more about that, I'm going to be sharing my TD Ameritrade Think or Swim platform. It's a free platform that I use. Again, I'm not paid to promote this anyway. I just get that question asked almost in every single video on what platform I use. And I'm going to be talking about 8 different stocks that I see value in that are actively trending up. And I'm just going to provide a quick and simple breakdown for each one of them. None of these stocks are any stock suggestions. I would not encourage you to take any positions on any of these stocks. Please do your own due diligence. I want you guys to focus on the overall kind of like pattern that I'm seeing and overall concept on how it is that I articulate it to be like a good quality stock in my opinion. And if it makes sense to you, great, then you can use that concept and start breaking down the stocks in your watch list to have a better understanding which ones meet that same type of criteria, right? So again, make sure that you have a set of list of criteria that every stock has to meet to view it and label it as a good deal. Very quick, for those that don't want to watch the entire video, 100% all power to you. I'm just going to show you guys what's it called? I'm just going to show you guys the chat. So there we go. So you guys can see it's VZM, APA, Netflix, or NFT, NFX, I apologize, TELL, UAN, JNUG, and DGAS. I'm going to be doing breakdowns on all of them. If you guys don't want to tune in for the entire live stream, you guys have the list there. Do your own technical analysis and develop your own sense of opinion, and we can kind of go from there. So I'm going to start breaking them down. I'm going to start sharing my screen. I hope that you guys enjoy, and happy Monday. So let's go ahead and start doing this. We can go ahead and go here. I'm going to start from the top of my list. So that is ticker symbol VZ. If you guys can do this technical analysis with me and just kind of hear my voice on the background, I think that would be pretty solid. So this is kind of similar to what we do every single morning if you're part of the Learn Plan Profit Group. Market opens and we start just breaking down stocks together. So this is ticker symbol VZ, so Verizon Communications. And you can see that it's been showing signs of this descending pattern. A lot of consolidation happening at around $48. The reason that I somewhat see value in this one, especially at the price point that it's at right now, it's at a known price point on where it tends to consolidate at. So understanding that, let me just make sure that my screen is being shared. All right, just wanted to make sure that. So we can see that there's consolidation happening at around $48, resistance at around $50 based on previous patterns. Does that make sense? So there's a margin of being able to identify what the low points are and what the high points are as well. Moving up from that, we can see another resistance based on previous patterns at around $52. And then moving up from that, we can see another resistance at around $54. So there's almost this margin of potential profit to be made every $2 price point. So again, right now it's actively trending up. It just broke above the SMA, and I think there's going to be a slight pullback, and then we might be able to trade within this margin from 48 to 50. It offers about a 4.16% potential for profit. MACD indicator is starting to point back up. I do want to make sure that you guys are aware that it does have its earnings report coming up pretty soon. The last previous earning, it did push up quite a bit, and it did push up quite a bit, but again, it did not hold for a very long period of time. So just know that its earnings, if you guys might want to look into the fundamentals a little bit more about Verizon based on their restructuring and how they've kind of moved things around, just something to look into. But just on the technical side, we can see that it's actively trending up and it's actively trying to break above this previous resistance, which is the SMA indicator, and trying to validate it as a support. Margin of profit that it has to offer is not huge, but it's something because it's one of the largest, Fortune 500 companies or multi-billion-dollar companies. I think the pattern can be very consistent, especially for those that have full-time jobs that can't invest too much time. This is a slower moving stock, so it might be something that you might want to look out for, especially if the pattern makes sense to you. Moving on to the next ticker, that is ticker symbol M. This is Macy's. Look at the past 180 days. I don't know where I got 128. Showing signs of an uptrend pattern. We can see that this SMA line used to act as a support. We can see that it's bounced there before. It tried to bounce here. Obviously, it broke below, but then again, it held right back above. And we can see that it's acted as a previous resistance multiple times. So the SMA line is pretty valid on either being a support or resistance level. So with that understanding, we could see a previous resistance at around $31, right? We could label that resistance at around 30 if we want to be a little bit more conservative. But look at this. This is a pattern that if you're part of the Learn Plan Profit Group, I've covered before, and it's under the bull flag and bear flag patterns. And what is it that you guys see here? Is this a bull flag or bear flag pattern? We can see that the SMA line is acting as a support and that the overall resistance at $31 is acting as a resistance. So as it continues to get rejected by $31, it gets rejected, bounces at the SMA line, pushes up, so it creates this, kind of just this bull flag pattern, gets rejected by the $31 price point, pulls back down, and you see that it starts to consolidate and bounce on this SMA line. Now all we're waiting for is the confirmation. The ideal price point that I have written down for myself is for when it breaks above $29. So I just put at or above to remind me that, hey, this might be something that I might want to look into, since the margin from $29 all the way up to $31 offers about almost 7% potential for profit. That can be very attractive, especially if you want to focus on stocks that are actively trending up. This is Macy's, so it's a very reputable company if you're within the United States and you're familiar with it, or online. And it's just, again, it's a very simple pattern that I think a lot of people can make sense of. RSI is not too much on the overbought side. MACD indicator is starting to signal more of almost a buy signal within the next couple of days if this pattern continues. So it's definitely something that we might want to follow up with. Again, just something for you guys to potentially look into. APA is actively trending up, and you guys might be saying, well, Ricky, what the heck? These aren't usual stocks that you talk about. I'm trying to change things up. I usually focus on ETFs. I know my Learn Plan Profit group focuses a lot on ETFs, but I want to make sure that we provide a lot of diverse information, and that I just share what is actively trending up, and then you guys make of what you want out of it, right? You guys don't have to trade any of these, but in hope that you guys can see me breaking these stocks down and use that concept and then start breaking down stocks on your own and seeing how it is that I see value. So if you guys like that, please feel free to give the video a thumbs up, and not even a thumbs up. Don't even worry too much about that, but I want to receive feedback. What do you guys want me like on a weekly basis, just to do like, midweek follow-ups on what stocks on my watch list are actively trending up? I think that could be at least that would be useful for me. So let's go ahead, and we could see that this is ticker symbol APA, right? It's actively trending up. There's no question about that. Previous margin from around $40 to highs of 46. Very horizontal pattern. Do we all see this? It had a huge sell-off, started to trend back up, broke above the SMA indicator, right? Is now trending up back into this margin. So what I want to see is for a solid pullback confirmation at that it holds above $40, and for it to continue this uptrend pattern. Very simple. Margin from $40 all the way up to 46 offers over 10%, nearly over 15% potential for profit. I think that's pretty attractive. I have my ideal price point to be above 40. So we want to make sure, how do we know that there's not a break of pattern, that this thing is going to continue to trend down? We want it to hold above 40. We want this thing to continue to point up and make new highs and not make lower lows, right? So with that understanding, if we see this thing to this EMA line to start to point down, and not just point down maybe for one day, but actually start pointing down and the candles break below the EMA and it actually starts trending down, then we can get a confirmation that, hey, this thing's getting pulled back. We might want to cut losses, hold off on actually taking a position, or altogether not even trade it. Maybe follow up with it when it's, again, actively trending up above the EMA. Just, again, another stock that you might want to potentially look out for. I'm going to set my alerts for the break above 41, but I'm going to follow up with this one. I don't have it in my watch list, so I'll go ahead and add it to my weekly watch list. Again, I would encourage you to have at least a minimum of 2 watch lists. I have my active swing trade watch list, which are stocks that are actively trending up. I have my general watch list, which is just a pool of stocks, right? And then I have my ETF watch list, which is a watch list of just my ETFs that I like to focus on. So that's an ideal niche that I focus on myself. You do what it is that you please. I would encourage you to have certain watch lists for different stocks and the ones that you really want to focus on for that specific week. So maybe you could have 1 or 2 stocks in your active uptrending watch list. Again, stay very micro focused. So the next one is NFX. NFX has that margin from $24 to $28. We might see a slight rejection at around this SMA line. So you could obviously tell that it might get rejected. Well, based on previous patterns on when it approached that SMA line, it's showing a very similar pattern, but then it was able to break above that and continue that uptrend rally. That's why I'm talking about this, because it's still holding above the EMA line. It's still actively trending up. There's a lot of consolidation that's happening at around this SMA line, and the margin of profit, in my opinion, from where it's at right now to the $28 price point is very attractive. It's around a little bit over 8% margin of profit, but again, we want to make sure that this thing validates that as a support and continues to trend up. So it's just following up with it, and this could be a 2 to 3 day swing trade as it can quickly cover that margin of profit. So looking back at how long it took to cover from that $23 or $26 price point overall to about $28, it was about a week max. So just ask yourself, in a week, is it cool or would you find that attractive to cover 8% margin? Have you ever been able to do that before? And how great would it be to be able to do that within just one position? Now, make sure that you don't let your emotions come into play. Make sure that you don't get into that position just for the heck of it. Make sure that the pattern itself shows signs of an uptrend pattern. Right now, it's just showing consolidation. So make sure that we follow up with it. And within the next couple of days, so we could do like a 5-day, 5-minute breakdown, we can see that there's a lot of horizontal consolidation, right? It's kind of flatlining. We want to see it start making new highs and not making new lows. So just something to follow up with. So I'll go back to that 180-day chart. Next one is TELL. So TELL, looking at this 180-day analysis, we can see the previous margin. Again, I like to focus on two patterns, ascending uptrend patterns or horizontal patterns. This would definitely fall under the horizontal pattern. Do you see this horizontal resistance, horizontal support? We can see that the margin of profit, in my opinion, is pretty attractive. So from lows to highs is about over 33% potential for profit, but there's these little margins in between that offer about 10%. So that's from like, $9 to 10, 10 to 11, and then from 10 to 12, or 11 to 12, I apologize. It actually actively started, it got rejected, started to push back up. Watch out for this resistance that this SMA indicator might have, but overall, if it does continue to trend up as it's trending up right now, this can be something that can be extremely profitable if it works according to plan. So make sure that you understand the ascending uptrend pattern. Make sure that you understand what can happen for there to be a break-if pattern so you can act quickly, because there's always a form of risk involved. But it's when you understand the pattern and then it breaks it that you're able to identify that, and you can simply cut losses or cover profits. Again, very simple, but all you have to do is understand the pattern. I have my alert set at the break above $9, and that is exactly what it is that I am waiting for. So yeah, that's pretty much it for that one. UAN is one that we've broken down before. This one is consolidating right now, so it's not actively trending up, so I do apologize for that. It's not actively trending up. I set my alert at $32. It offers a very horizontal pattern, just like we've traded this one before. Watch out for the earnings and the reversal. Again, I have my alert for when the candles start breaking above the EMA, it really gets pushing. We've traded this one multiple times before. I would like to set their alerts, be reminded when it starts to push up, revisit this one, see if the pattern is still valid, because it doesn't want, just because it's done it before, doesn't mean that it has to, it just means that it can, right? So with that understanding, we can set our alerts for there to be a break below $3 if we 100% want to. So I will set my alert for the break below 3 and the break above 320, and the margin of profit from 320 to being a little bit conservative to around 360 offers a little bit over 10% potential profit. Obviously, it's gone up to 380, but that's been a little bit more risky. It's up to you if you want to capitalize on that margin. I'm trying to keep it very realistic and just keeping it consistent, right? Next one is JNUG. JNUG is one that we broke down today. If you're part of the Learn Plan Profit group, we talked about the overall pattern that the /GC future shows. So that's a direct correlation to the overall ETF itself. If you aren't familiar with that, I do have a video talking about that both on YouTube and in the Learn Plan Profit course. They are separate videos. But talking and elaborating a little bit more on how to leverage futures and how to trade ETFs according to that. So if you don't know what I mean about that, then make sure that you dedicate a little bit more time for that. We could see some form of bull flag pattern showing right now. Resistance at around $15. EMA line acting as a support. Overall margin is not huge. It's about 3 to 4%. But a lot of this margin can be capitalized intraday, meaning as a day trade. It's just about trading smart and making sure that the pattern is still valid. I'll touch base quickly on the overall pattern for /GC that we talked about today, and it's that /GC, which is the future for JNUG, right, is actively trending up. It's being uplifted by this overall EMA that we see here, and it's showing signs of an uptrend. So because of that, I see signs of a continuous uptrend pattern. Again, not trying to trade against that pattern, and we can see the MACD indicator still pointing up, and there's a lot of news and a lot of volatility that's happening with the market that would so-called just give us a better understanding that, hey, gold might be a good potential type of equity to potentially invest in or commodity to invest in. So with that understanding, it does have a lot of margin to recover when it comes down to the overall futures, which means that then that could directly correlate over to the overall pattern for JNUG itself and how much it can still push up. So if you don't see, first of all, if you don't understand the pattern, try to understand it a little bit more and dedicate a little bit more time to understand how the overall patterns for futures and ETFs work well with one another, right? And then once you understand that, try to see if you still see value in JNUG. There's no question that JNUG is way overextended. We can see with the RSI, it is way overpriced. Like, you have to ask yourself, based on previous prices right here, are you getting at $15? Are you getting JNUG for a good deal? No, there's no question about that. You are not getting it for a good deal. But because of how the current market conditions are playing out, JNUG and all these other gold-based ETFs are actively trending up, like DUST as well, are actively trending up. And you don't want to trade against those patterns. So what I'm saying is look for any indication that /GC and the gold commodity itself is going to continue to trend up, which will then directly correlate over to JNUG trending up. And if you see any sign of a reversal, so I can set my alert here. If you see that JANA starts to trend down and /GC starts to trend down, then we can take that as a confirmation that we should start moving our attention on over to JDST, which is the inverse ETF, which definitely does have a lot of margin to cover, but again, it's still actively trending down. So we need to wait for some form of confirmation. So let's be smart, let's be patient, and let's make sure that we trade based on patterns and not emotions and what we hope happens. And boy, do we know that, right? With ticker symbol DRIP. So that's a little joke for you guys. Let's see what you guys are saying. I saw a lot of people talk about this one today. I'm going to touch base on that one. I'm going to give my own opinion. I personally do not like people promoting a lot of stocks that are receiving huge catalysts or momentum, just because that's all it is. So I'm going to break that down, give my own opinion and my own on technical standpoint and stuff like that. Please stop promoting it though. I'm asking you. Yeah. So, whoa, what was that? Okay, yeah, I'll definitely do that as well. Ton, thank you again for that. All right, so I'm going to talk about, so I took a small position on DGAS today. So you guys can see I'm up, I'm up a little bit more now. So I'm up a little bit over $200 on the day. Based on my position size, that is a pretty small growth that I experienced. I don't think I shared my other profits for the day. And it's not even profits, it's recovery that I had on DRIP. And DRIP isn't still trading exactly how it is that we want it to. I took a small position on, or I took a position on DGAS just based on the overall pattern. I broke this one down on Friday, right? I broke this one down and I talked about why it is that I see value in this one. Not only just that, but I looked at the overall pattern for /NG. And with /NG, I saw the overall resistance to be at around the highs of 280 based on previous patterns. And it's been showing a pretty solid decline, right? This SMA line showing more of a descending pattern. So because of that, and then I saw it start to get rejected, right? And then I used that as a reference to take a small position originally on DGAS, and then I started adding more to my position as it started to confirm that uptrend. So looking at how it's been trading before, so looking at the relevant pattern, so we could actually do like a 20-day analysis since we understand the overall patterns. It's been hitting lows of around $26 to around $28, and the very consistent margin that I would look out for is from around $28 to $30. The margin from $28 to $30 offers a little bit under 10%, so about 7.3%, and that margin has been very consistent within the past couple of days. It does not mean 100% that it has to happen, especially with this huge sell-off that it had. It doesn't mean that it's going to recover. Just because I took a position on it, please do not take a position. Understand the pattern, and if you don't, please don't take a position. Don't let this, with my DRIP trade, devastate you, because again, everyone thinks that because I've been able to do well, and I talked about this yesterday in our Sunday Stock Talk, I want to make sure that you guys take positions based on your understanding and not other people's opinion. It's generally one, I don't hate a lot of things, but that is one thing that I dislike with a passion, when people mimic my trades. That is why I stopped sharing my trades when I first started in the beginning of the year. I got back to sharing my trades. Everyone was doing well, right? Because I wasn't having any red days. But as soon as I have one red day, everyone gets devastated, gets very discouraged, and they throw everything under the bus. That is not what I'm here to do. I provided this free community of TechBud Solutions with over 90,000 members to use as a tool to share quality information. And if you guys are just being spoon-fed, then honestly, you should not be part of our trading community. You need to invest more time in learning about patterns and learning how to identify and understand these patterns and how to do this on a consistent basis. So what I would encourage you to do is, first of all, do you understand this horizontal pattern that DGAS has been showing? Do you understand why it is that I see /NG to be overextended? Do you understand what I would be looking for a confirmation? I'm just going to talk about it. If I see tomorrow /NG break again back above the EMA and start pushing back up, I'm going to cover profits or cut losses wherever it is that I am with DGAS, as I know this thing is going to start pushing back up, and then I can cover profits on DGAS because I know that this thing is going to continue to sell off. And if you did not understand that correlation between the future and the ETF and that pattern itself, then you would not have been able to do that. Because again, I can only do so much, and I'm working very closely with my private group, but even them, sometimes I'm not quick enough to be like, hey, I'm covering my position on DGAS. As soon as I get to tell them, it might have already had a sell-off. So make sure that you understand the correlation and have an overall understanding of how this is trading. two reasons on why it is that I see value in this pattern. It's been very consistent with this horizontal pattern, and sorry, what the heck is that? I've been seeing a very consistent pattern with overall low points and high points for DGAS itself, and then the last thing is /NG getting rejected by that 278, 290, 280 price point, which it's been rejected before multiple times. It doesn't mean 100% that it's 100% going to get rejected, just like we experienced with DRIP and /CL. A lot of people have been holding DRIP, just like myself, but I felt like I understood the pattern and I was okay with the loss. A lot of people got discouraged and lost more than what they were comfortable with. Don't trade based on other people's opinion. Those were actually the 8 stocks that I wanted to break down today. Well, they're stocks and ETFs. And actually, I wanted to talk about this one very quickly if I can. I talked about this one on yesterday, this ascending uptrend pattern. It had a really nice push up. We actually talked about this one in the Learn Plan Profit Group. Right as the market opened, it pulled back to close to $35. I called it as a good buy and to keep for a look at around $36. Margin was not good. Margin was around 2 to 3%, but as a day trade, it made a lot of sense. Looking at the relevant patterns on how it's been trading, it's been progressively staircasing up, which is something that we've been looking for. So again, what I'm looking for is for a decent entry, a quick sell-off to around $35, right where the SMA line, as this has been acting as a support, and for a nice little push up to around 36 to 36.50. Don't be afraid on covering profits too early. I would cover profits early, right? There's no question about that. It's been pretty quick on pushing up and then getting rejected again. It's been, when it pushes down, and when it pushes up, it pushes up. It's a hit or miss, and you want to make sure that you are focusing, that you are getting in when it's trending up and not when it's trending down. Just a quick little 2 cents. Now, let's see. I'm so sorry about that, Angel. I apologize for all those headphone users. I apologize. Nice. I'm so sorry. It's because the cell phone began to ring, so I do apologize for that. But let me go ahead and I want to break down DRIP and the overall pattern. There's nothing that has changed with DRIP so far. If I'm not mistaken, looking at how it's trading even after market hours, it's selling off. And how do we know when something is actively trending down? It's trading in between the middle view up and the bottom view up. We've talked about this time after time, and I covered some of my position today based on DRIP, just because the descending pattern was just a little bit too aggressive for me, and I've taken quite a bit of a loss, no question about that. But am I going to let this devastate me? No, I understood the pattern. I understood that I got in way too early, and I have to own up to it. Everyone makes mistakes. This was one of my mistakes. Continuous downward pattern. Let's be patient. Let's wait for the confirmation, and if you're not in it just yet, then we could use that as a great reference on why we can potentially get into this later when it's actively trending up, since it has a lot of margin to cover. So quick little breakdown on that. /CL is showing signs of it being a little bit more on the overextended side. So we can go and do this like 180-day analysis and see that, hey, /CL is showing signs of a peak formation, right? EMA line is starting to point down. But again, it has not broken below $66, which is exactly what I've been waiting for. When it breaks below 66 and I see a strong descending pattern, I would feel more than comfortable. If DRIP, because again, the correlation is not 100%, but if I see then DRIP start to progressively push up, then I would feel that much more comfortable taking a position and going up from there. So yeah, that is my breakdown on all the stocks that I see value in it. Quick call out. I called out Tesla as it being a sell. I told you guys that it was most likely going to get rejected at 300, and it's showing just that. Again, more of a peak formation. We talked about this in our Sunday Stock Talk, and it's the pattern made sense on why it would descend. So let's go ahead and see what it is that you guys have to say. What is the inverse ETF of DRIP? That is ticker symbol GUFF. Again, I believe I've shared and I've made videos talking about all the inverse ETFs. So yeah, look, and we have an amazing team that helps you guys out. So please look at your DMs, Ricky. Jaden. Okay, I'll check my DMs. I have quite a bit of things that I have to do today, so it is going to be a little bit delayed. So if you want to 100% get the best response from me, you have to direct message me through Discord. Even though those have been delayed about 24 hours, I get around 300 to 400 messages. I'm meeting with my CPA today. I'm getting a haircut. I have a meeting after this as well. And I've had meetings all day today. We have a lot of good news that we're going to be working on, a lot of fun little projects that we have coming up. And yeah, it's been a busy morning. So I want to thank all those that also ordered the Tech Club Solutions apparel for the buy one, get one free. we're sending out all your orders today and then tomorrow as well. So Don, that's a pretty good question. I'll end it with that. So the reason that I covered a portion of what it is that of what it is that I've purchased is because I still see value in the pattern of drip, right, and the potential recovery that it does have to offer. So I still wanted to have some skin in the game for that. But I also saw a lot of value in DGAS, and that's why before I took my position on DGAS, I covered a portion of drip and I took a position on DGAS because I felt like the opportunity cost in that was greater than what drip could potentially recover intraday or within the next couple of days that followed. I hope that makes sense. So it just comes down to opportunity cost. So thank you guys. No, I really appreciate it. I'm really happy to hear that you guys like this video. So let me know, Don, if that answered your question. But yeah, that is pretty much it. I wanted to give a shout out to the people. First of all, I want to give a shout out to all those that are part of TechButt Solutions as a whole. So if you guys are a part of TechButt Solutions, I want to thank you guys all for your time. Again, we're a little bit over 90,000 members. It's the third link in the description if you guys would like to join our free trading community. You 100% don't have to. We have a free Facebook group, and then we have a free Discord chat. It's all free. It's ran by, we have a couple different admins. Brad is our OTC stock admin, right? And then we have Ferris and Lupo, and we have just the overall trading community that makes it all possible and creates an amazing, networking environment. So if you have trouble, surrounding yourself with like-minded individuals, if you have trouble finding good quality stocks to potentially trade or be exposed to, or want some tips and tricks on how to be successful in different markets, then I would really encourage you to maybe invest 1 or 2 minutes and learn a little bit more about our free trading community. This is my Learn Plan Pro. This is my what's it called? This is the Learn Plan Prof group. I just want to give a shout out to a couple of these members. We can see that they've covered quite a bit today, right? But altogether, right, it's just focusing on consistency. I wanted to talk about that, today was definitely a slow day, at least for myself. But, even with it being slow, I want to give a shout out to Michael. Almost $1,500 profit on Netflix. Right here we got Dylan breaking a little bit over $1,300. So again, there's definitely money to be made, and it's just all about focusing on quality and consistent patterns. So that is really just it. So we can see all these profits that were posted today, and that is it. So let's go ahead and end it there. If you guys want to learn a little bit more about the Learn Plan Prof group, you guys don't have to, but it's that first link in the description to learn a little bit more on how I work with this group on a daily basis. And if you think speaking to me on a daily basis would benefit you and your trading career and I can act as a catalyst, then I would love to be a part of your success. If not, we have a bunch of free videos on YouTube and we have this free trading community that can also guide you in the right direction. So thank you guys again. I hope my breakdowns can guide you guys in the right direction and expose you to some good quality stocks for this upcoming week. I hope you guys can continue working hard, continue following your dreams, let your passion be what drives your success. And like always, let's make sure that we end the year on a green note. Take it easy, team.